Now for some world news, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad warns President Barack Obama against interfering in Iran's affairs. It's President Ahmadinejad's most direct criticism of President Obama since the June 12th vote. Now, how should the president proceed? Well, former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright and former National Security Advisor Sandy Berger spoke today with Bloomberg Washington executive editor Al Hunt.
The Albright Group and Stonebridge International have just merged, hopefully passing Justice Department approval. Congratulations to both of you, a foreign policy advisory powerhouse.
Well, we're very excited about it because I think that by combining, we are creating a huge platform to be able to give advice internationally to our various clients. And it's great to be working with Sandy again.
Well, let's turn to one of those foreign policy issues that's very topical right now. Iranian President Ahmadinejad said today that Barack Obama is trying to intervene in Iranian affairs. He's going to create the fiascos that George W. Bush had, and he ought to stay out. How should the president respond?
Well, I believe the president has responded really thoughtfully and well by walking a very hard line because obviously his sentiments and those of the American people are with the demonstrators. On the other hand, we do not want to be part of this story and give the Iranian leadership excuses. And so I think he's been very careful and I think done a good job.
Sandy, should he answer Ahmadinejad today?
I don't think he should get into a tit-for-tat with Ahmadinejad, as Secretary Albright has said. I think he's played this well. We need to stand beside the opposition. We don't need to get in the middle of this. This is not a made-in-America phenomenon. This is indigenous and deeply ingrained in what's going on in Iran. We don't need to become a pretext for even further crackdowns.
What the critics say is that we wouldn't have taken that attitude in South Africa in the 1980s. We shouldn't have taken that attitude at Tiananmen in 1989, or in Hungary, or in Czechoslovakia in the 50s.
I think very different, and I think the point here is you have to understand the differences. So, for instance, I know a lot about Czechoslovakia and Poland. Those were very different kinds of bottom-up revolutions against the Soviet Union. And frankly, there was a very big issue in Hungary, and this is something that people have to be careful of. The administration in the 1950s kept saying to the Hungarian people, we will help you if you rise up, and then we didn't. Right. And so there's a lot of blame that goes around. Czechoslovakia in 1968, same thing. So, first of all, they're very different. Those revolutions were very nationalistic and just a different situation.
Al, I mean, the fact of the matter is what the president has said has been very tough. And he's escalated his rhetoric as the situation has escalated. In the early first days, it was not appropriate to prejudge how this thing would unfold. But his rhetoric over the past few days and his statements have been clear, have been strong, and have been appropriate.
And so he was right to cancel those invitations to the Iranian ambassadors around the world to go to July 4th celebrations at American embassies?
Obviously, we can't go back to business as usual under the present circumstances. We're going to have to see how this situation evolves.
And you think that he has struck the right tone?
I do, because this is not simple. I think that if you, for instance, the Ayatollah, when he was making his 2-hour speech, basically was trying to figure out how to blame this on foreign intervention. He particularly picked on the British, but also picking on us. And I think they're just waiting to have us be part of the story when this is something that is a split within the Iranian elite and very deeply felt by the people.
Bloomberg Al's Hunt joins us now. You know, you mentioned this in your interview. The Obama administration only yesterday decided to rescind invitations to Iranian diplomats to the 4th of July celebrations at the American embassies. But some critics do say, although Madeleine Albright said the president took the right note, that the president has been slow to forcefully condemn the regime. Why is that?
Well, Gigi, this has been an evolving policy, at least rhetorically. It's not easy. It's really an open question as to what difference American rhetoric makes. Can it be counterproductive? And I think that's what the White House has been weighing. But as events over there have worsened over the past 2 weeks, they've had to escalate the rhetoric.
So Obama condemned the crackdown in Iran, but at the same time, he wants to make progress on nuclear talks with Iran this year. So what is the likelihood of that now?
That's a really good question. It depends on how this plays out. If we end up with a regime that has repressed its people, that has brutalized desire for free expression over there, it's going to be harder to sit down and talk to them, no matter what the merits of the issues.
It's certainly not the best time. Bloomberg's Al Hunt, thanks so much for joining us. And you can see the rest of his interview with Madeleine Albright and Sandy Berger on Bloomberg's Political Capital, airing this weekend.